news,
Lobbyists are fed up with politicians accepting their money and then not coming through.
opinion,
When the automated police force orders you inside, that's just them doing their job.
remix.
Even lost my job partially due to the whole global warming issue. Increase in oil prices. This guy's scared.
This is Top Story with Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen,
I've been a listener for about 20 years.
I'm talking to you makes me feel better.
where the news meets your opinion. Pick up the phone and talk about it. 736-0300. That's 736-0300. Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen.
Well, good morning and welcome to Top Story. 736-0300 is always the number to call, and welcome, Jill. Uh-oh. Sorry.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Yeah.
A day Kelly forgot to turn on my microphone.
I know. Well, I've been sitting here listening to your stories.
My
from
trials
the week.
and...
Ladies and gentlemen, every day is like a soap opera for Jill and Tom.
No, not really, but, last we left it, Tom left town for 2 days, and Gracie didn't meow during the night. And remember, I said, well, we'll find out. We find out the verdict is in. It's Tom. She meowed Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm exhausted. I mean, every few hours, all through the night, and we're trying to do the thing that the pet lady said last night. You're supposed to find her, grab her, and blow in her face, right? So last night, I go into the living room, and we left a box. She likes to jump in boxes, right? So it's dark. I don't want to turn on the lights because, Tom, we're trying to sleep. You know, you try to do that. And I bend down, and I think the box is Gracie because I see this dark shadow. I'm like, Gracie. And I'm like, wait, it's a box, you know? Oh, my God. So we couldn't find her. Every time we wake up, she'd be running somewhere else. I'm exhausted. I think we're going to try to find a cat at the shelter today and just see if that works.
Oh, my.
I can't take it. Tom's like, I'll sleep downstairs. You sleep upstairs with her. Someone's got to get sleep. Well, okay. I don't know what else to do. I'm at my wit's end.
It's either Tom or the cat. I mean, this is literally the question today, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's not going to be Tom, but I think maybe she needs a friend. I don't know anymore. But it was hilarious last night. I'm like talking to a box, thinking it's her. Something's got to end. I can't go on like this 3 nights on a weekend too. You think you can get some sleep on a weekend?
Yeah. Okay. Well. Stay tuned tomorrow for the continuing episode of Jill, Tom, and Gracie.
Because you asked me...
Will Gracie find a lifetime mate?
Well, you asked me if we would take Gracie to the animal shelter to pick up the cat. Well, no. Last time we had her in the car, she was vomiting, went to the bathroom, frothing like a St. Bernard. Please, I can't even deal anymore. Tom's like, maybe we should take Gracie to the vet. I'm like, don't even say that.
Oh, my. Maybe you should just get Gracie some, what do they call that?
Sedatives?
Yeah. Provolac or...
Maybe yes. A Provolac.
What is Provolac? Prozac. Yeah.
Maybe Mommy and Daddy need Prozac.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe the entire
So
family.
we'll see what happens today.
All
I'm going to
right.
try to go over there and see if there's a cat she might like.
All right. Well, let us know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
like,
sure
and
you will.
P.S., I'm exhausted. Thank you.
Now,
So be nice to me today.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I'm always nice to you.
Or the callers. Okay.
Coming up a little later in the show, we have Randy Stapilus with the Idaho political update. Today is also the day for Chris Anderson from the CSI Herrett Center and Planetarium. I know we had him Friday, but that was just a short segment to talk about the upcoming Star Party at Pomerelle over the weekend. So I'm anxious to find out how that turned out.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be on the week after. This is actually not his normal week.
That is correct.
He was supposed to be on yesterday.
Right.
And we had our lunch Friday.
Yes, and that was a lot of fun.
With Frank and Jim Vensmeen, and it was very nice. They were lovely.
Yep. They're brothers.
Yes, Frank
if you would see them on the street and they would claim to be brothers, you would say, no, probably not.
Yeah.
But they are.
Yes, they are. And anyway, so we had a lovely time. We ate out on the patio, and everyone enjoyed their food. And I don't even remember what I had. What did I have? Oh, the little veggie burger.
Yeah, I had fish and chips.
And so did Jim, and Frank had an elk burger.
That's right.
And everyone loved it. It was nice.
And you can sign up because we're going to be pulling a name out of the hat
Friday.
for the winner on Friday. So you still have this week to get your name into the hat for July. Go to our website at newsradio1310.com. Click on Lunch with Kelly and Jill. Fill out the information, and it could be your name that we pull out of the hat this Friday.
And if you've done it before, all you have to do is wait 30 days to win again.
Yeah, which is what Jim did.
Although
actually,
Frank
he
won.
didn't win.
Yeah, but I think Jim put Frank's name in, or however that works.
Well,
I don't know.
The first thing we're going to do today is to tackle one of those nagging questions that we have had ever since our modern society sprung up.
Okay.
It's an extremely minor inconvenience when you need to pick up some milk and have to walk all the way to the back of the store to get it. Everyone knows it's because stores want to make customers walk through the entire store, so they'll pick up some non-milk items.
Is that not true?
It's not quite that simple, ladies and gentlemen.
Really?
And it's not every retail decision is made with the goal of tricking us. Believe it or not.
Now that one shocks me.
I know,
okay.
me too.
I'm surprised.
NPR's Planet Money podcast team rounded up a diverse group of grocery managers and retail experts to answer the question, why is milk always at the back of the store?
Mm-hmm.
The final verdict, milk is located where it is for practical reasons and not to inconvenience you.
Okay.
Sure, that's what they say. Dairy products are quite perishable, and the people who handle milk during its journey from the cow to your cereal bowl want to preserve its shelf life. That's why you will find dairy coolers at the back or on the side of the store. On the other side of those rolling shelves is a walk-in cooler.
That makes sense.
Often, stores are laid out so that dairy can go right from a refrigerated truck to the back of the store, and products never reach room temperature until they hit your cart.
That's a very good point. And also yogurt and orange juice and things like that. All that's on the back wall if you see it. So now we know why. But it makes sense. Their coolers are back there.
The experts agree that making customers walk through a whole store isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But the main reason why milk is located in the back of the store is a very practical one. If the point were to inconvenience us, some grocery chains wouldn't have a small dairy cooler at the front of the store for people who need milk and are in a huge hurry. Have you noticed those? Those little coolers up front, they have milk in them, ones with pop and such. I've never paid any attention to see if they have milk.
I haven't seen them. I don't think they do have milk. I see soda. The ones right near the checkout, it's usually water, soda, some energy drink.
So that answers the question. They don't do it really to inconvenience us or to tick us off. They do it because that's the coolers are better accessible to the milk trucks.
You should be grateful. You don't want your stuff to get to room temperature and then chill it up again, because by the time they unload it, they take the cart. It could.
Yeah. So what I want to know now is why bread is on one side of the store and butter is on the other side, huh?
Well, isn't butter refrigerated?
It is.
Butter's refrigerated,
well, then they
so
should
that's
have
why.
the bread next to the butter and the milk.
Maybe you need to walk a little, Maybe walk a little. Work off the butter you're about to consume.
Okay, I have a question for you folks. Now, I ran across these two stories this morning. I'm sure you've heard about them, but have you made the connection?
I don't know.
A 20-year-old man was killed and 13 people injured after being struck by lightning on Venice Beach in Los Angeles during a bout of freak July thunderstorm on Sunday. Venice Beach in Los Angeles. Paramedics were dispatched to an oceanfront walk on Venice Beach around 2:15 p.m.
Okay, we got the location,
after
Kelly.
witnesses reported a tremendous crash of thunder.
That's
One
terrible.
person was killed. A father was killed and his 9-year-old daughter critically injured Sunday while walking along a Florida beach when a small plane crash landed on the Gulf Coast only feet from the surf. The pilot and his only passenger weren't hurt when the Piper aircraft lost power and touched down Sunday afternoon on a beach in Venice, Florida.
Okay.
As the two from Georgia were walking along the sand. A man and one of his children who were walking on the beach near Venice, Florida, were apparently injured by the plane. And the 36-year-old man from Georgia was later pronounced dead near Venice, Florida.
And I heard the poor wife, she was so distraught she had to be taken to the hospital.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You would think
it's a horrible, tragic story.
Awful. And you almost think, okay, you're walking. Would you not hear something? Was there nothing to hear? Is there not a horn? Like something as you're coming down, the guy's probably freaking out. I'm
Well,
going to land on this person.
Airplanes aren't, especially this single-engine Piper Comanche, I think it was, if it was coming up behind them and you have the surf of the ocean making the noise.
How awful.
And if the engine was running, it would have been idling. And so I doubt if they would have heard that.
Awful.
Near Venice, Florida.
Okay, let me think. What's the connection, Kelly?
Venice, Florida, Venice Beach. I don't know.
Okay,
There's
so
got to
is
be
there
something
something that you
deeper
can?
here.
What could it be?
There's got to be something
It's
deeper.
Obama's fault.
736.
Okay.
Now you're getting
There we
somewhere,
go.
ladies and
Now
gentlemen.
I figured it out.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's Valerie.
Valerie.
How are you?
I'm good. Guess what I am?
What?
I'm retired.
No, sir.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be heckling you guys a lot this year because I won't be in the classroom teaching. I'll be sitting on my couch and listening to you guys.
I'm surprised. Why are you even up right now, Valerie? If someone can sleep, why can't someone sleep? I can't.
Well, I have this crazy cat that keeps me up. No.
You too? I know.
No, I'm actually kidding, but that's why I'm calling.
I
I'm
know.
over at the Rupert Fairgrounds. I'm judging the little dog show today. So I got up early and came over here. These kids are so dang cute. They're warming up, and I don't have to start judging until 8:30. So, but Jill, I am calling about your cat.
Yeah.
I got one recently, too, and they're so nocturnal, but you know what I did? I take that cat every night and get one of those little fishing things and play with it for a half an hour, and then I have this room set up with all these dangly little cat ladders and stuff like that, and I put them in that at nighttime, and I go to bed.
Well, you know why. I mean, she lost her sister.
Yes.
And
yes,
so she's
yes.
never been alone her whole life.
Oh, okay. See, I haven't listened to you a whole lot this summer.
Yeah, well, you missed the whole
Well,
pet
sorry.
psychic thing, everything. But anyway, no, I appreciate that, but I just think she's just lonely and misses her sister.
Well, then I think it's a good idea to go to the shelter and try to find her a little pet mate, and I will be listening a lot now, and then I'll get the rest of the update.
Well,
Thanks,
now,
You guys had a good day, and I'm glad I got to talk to you.
What do you think about the conspiracy between Venice Beach, California, and Venice, Florida?
You know what? I must have slept in that day like Jill asked me.
I just talked about it 2 minutes
I was
ago.
over checking in and letting them know their judgment was
Valerie's just
2
lucky.
minutes ago,
Hey,
and
you
you
know
say-
what? Good luck judging, Valerie. Thanks for calling in.
And she says that she's going to be listening more. She's going to have to because she's going to have to keep up with us. And
Oh,
that's just
my
not happening
goodness.
right now, Valerie. I'm sorry.
Happy retirement, but
My wife retired from teaching almost 3 years ago, and she has never looked back. So
she's enjoyed it, huh?
yeah, she really has.
Well, nice.
So anyway, coming up, we're going to be talking about, well, of course, the stuff continues in the Middle East with Israel and Hamas. They didn't even make it to the end of the 12 hours with the ceasefire, and things are going all back again. And recreational marijuana. Florida, they did a poll in Florida. Most of the people in Florida are in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana. What do you think we should do in Idaho? Maybe we should just legalize. It's going to happen. Down the road, sometime it's going to happen. Should we do it now or should we do it later? That's the question. We'll talk about that coming up here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. You've heard us talking about infrared baron. They fly over your fields, take pictures with infrared photography, upload it to your computer, and you can make adjustments on your fields as far as watering is concerned. This is something that doesn't cost, it pays. Actually, it's not all that expensive, but you can find out more about it by talking to the folks at Far More of Idaho and ask them about infrared baron. And this is quite an emerging technology here. You now have three-dimensional access to your fields from above, and you can look down on them without having to buy your own drone.
Yeah.
That's the big
How much
big deal
cheaper
around
than
here.
a drone?
Oh,
drone.
yeah.
You
And
know.
if the drone crashed in the middle of your field and stuff.
It only lasts like 15 minutes, right? Some of these drones.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's right. So contact them at Far More of Idaho, and they can tell you about infrared baron. 7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I want to make a comment about that legalized pot. I moved here from Seattle, and it's no good because people already smoke there anyway. And I don't want to live in a city where everybody's stoned, and it seems like that there. Now, I shouldn't generalize and say everybody, but another comment I want to make about a lot of people out here pigeonhole everybody from Seattle as being liberal, which is totally false. A lot of people are in the center, like me. I'm in the center right. I just don't align with either party. That's what I had to say.
Okay. Well, and we'll be talking a little more about the marijuana thing coming up at the top of the hour.
Well, what did they say? Like, the majority of the voters in Idaho are independents, too. I mean, they don't belong to either party. They don't really
align with either side.
Yeah, they don't align with either side. So, but no, I think people think more people from Oregon are liberal, but, you know, what can
I always consider Oregon a liberal state.
Yeah, it goes blue.
So,
it goes blue.
Yeah, and Washington, and we're surrounded by liberal states, with the exception maybe of Wyoming and Montana. But at any rate, wanted to talk here about the thing going on in Israel. The UN Security Council called for an immediate and unconditional humanitarian ceasefire in the Gaza war between Israel and Hamas at an emergency meeting just after midnight Monday morning. The council met as Muslims started celebrating the Eid al-Fitr holiday. I'm probably not pronouncing that right.
I would gather to say you aren't.
Marking the end of the fasting month of Ramadan. The pressure for a ceasefire followed new attacks launched by Israel and Hamas on Sunday, despite the back and forth over proposals for another temporary halt to nearly 3 weeks of fighting. A 12-hour lull Saturday, agreed to by both sides following intense U.S. and UN mediation efforts, could not be sustained. The Security Council urged Israel and Hamas to accept and fully implement the humanitarian ceasefire into that period and beyond. It said this would allow for the delivery of urgently needed assistance. Now, the Council's presidential statement also called on the parties to engage in efforts to achieve a durable and fully respected ceasefire based on the Egyptian initiative. Actually, to make a long story short, what happens is that they come up with these ceasefires, both sides agree, and then Hamas breaks it. And then Israel is the one that gets all the bad PR, because then now the Palestinians are calling Israel the aggressors, and it's just really pathetic. It is
outrageous.
Pathetic. You asked a good question during the break. Ask that again.
I said, where's the UN Security Council in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, in Iran? Thousands of people have been killed. Thousands of people have been gassed. But it's interesting, like when this starts in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas, instantly it's, we got to stop this. Instantly it has the tone that Israel's the aggressor. I mean, I'm sorry, but Hamas, and the caller said, there's a blockade on building materials. Well, you know what? They've been using the concrete and stuff to build these tunnels underneath their country to get underneath Israel's borders. And if they're considered two countries, you do have borders, and they have these tunnels where they go and they capture Israeli soldiers, they capture Israeli citizens, and they kill them. And what can you say? This country doesn't want peace. They don't even want to recognize Israel. Their whole point of existence is to destroy Israel, not recognize them, and it's just pathetic.
I think on your point as to where's the UN Security Council in Syria and Libya and all these other places as opposed to Israel and there, I think it's because probably a majority of the members of the UN Security Council are Muslim.
Well,
and they are on the side of the Muslim nations.
I think
and it shows in the UN Security Council.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to look that up. But I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, because it's obvious as the nose on your face that the UN Security Council is against Israel and is in favor of the Muslim countries.
Well, even with the flotilla incident a few years ago, when the Israelis were being attacked on the flotillas, and they blamed Israel. It's just, it's a joke what's going on, and Hamas can stop this anytime they want. The minute there's a ceasefire, they start shooting more rockets. It's, what can you do? It's pathetic. And actually, Netanyahu came on, I think I saw him on David Gregory's show this week, and he said that there's some footage where they believe Hamas was the ones who shot at that school. That they have, when they had an errant rocket, but the courtyard was empty at the time, they said. So they think Hamas shot at the school, and then they blame Israel.
They wouldn't do that. Hamas wouldn't do that to their own people. Come on.
No, they have their people number one.
736-0300 is the number to call. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And we're into the final week of July.
It's hard to believe.
I don't know if you think that it should be that time or not, but reality speaks, ladies and gentlemen, and it is here. And it's a perfect month to go camping. It's the perfect summer to go camping. The weather's been nice. The kids are out of school so far. Now, they'll be starting up again this next month, quite in about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Kids will be starting back. So go camping. Stop by Bish's RV. Yeah. While you got the chance, stop by Bish's RV in Twin Falls, because right now, until the end of July, which is Thursday, they have a huge blowout on their entire inventory of Starcraft and Dutchman travel trailers. Plus, you'll get $1,000 in parts and accessories with your new travel trailer purchase. And that's all through July at Bish's RV in Twin Falls at the Curry Crossing. You can stop in and tell them that Kelly and Jill told you to stop in.
Yes.
And go camping. Go camping. Things that families like to do together. Top story. You are on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jill Ruffing, and I have a few remarks to make. Jill, don't go camping because it is way too expensive. Trust me. Stay home. And I had to empathize a bit with the drama you're going through, but you're handling it quite well. You know, you get picked on a lot. There's a caller from Seattle that comes in and comforts you somewhat. And I have listened to that guy, and he's been around a bit. But, you know, I'm from Idaho, and I have a hard time dealing with world situations. It's so complicated, so I just kind of keep my head here at Magic Valley and create my own drama. And my advice is, as long as your family and friends don't take on your drama, that they'll remain pretty healthy. And I'm not so much affected by it myself, but because I can bear and endure it, but I just feel like you might be trying to make yourself suffer too much with all the drama you're going through. And if you have any friends or family, just tell them, don't own your drama. That's your drama, not theirs. So that's a lot. I've learned a lot through life. I've done a lot of studying on positive thinking, and nobody really knows that. But I'm a little old Magic Valley guy, redneck, born and raised, and I just want I want to feel sorry for you, but I don't, Jill, because you need to just stand up and tell your family don't own your embarrassment or your friends. And Kelly, I hope you don't buy into her drama, for heaven's sakes. That's all I have to say, my little speech on drama and embarrassing and not owning it, you know.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for the call.
For not owning my drama. And what can you do? I have a cat that's crazy, you know? I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just the facts. I'm trying to work that problem out.
And I have a couple of dogs that are about half crazy, so, you know.
I don't know my family and friends. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't have any my direct family here. So anyway, but thank you for that call. It's very helpful.
Top story, you were on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. Jill's question about the UN Security Council is an adequate question, but there's another one that needs to be asked too. Why did after U.S. sent in U.S. soldiers to support Al Qaeda to destroy Libya, why did they order the U.S. soldiers to stand down while Al Qaeda went around that country killing Christians and Jews? And why do the American people keep paying taxes and voting to support all this evil?
Well, I don't know. I have the same question. I don't know that we handled Libya and Syria. It did seem like that our president was a little bit jittery when he was dealing with that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I've maintained in the past that it's hard to fight your brethren. But
for God's sakes,
I know a lot of people criticize me for that view, but
yeah,
it's just a gut feeling that I have.
You think how many wars can we get into? But we didn't talk about this, is that they did get rid of all the personnel in the Libyan embassy. They basically evacuated the Libyan embassy over the weekend. And so that one's gone. And we've had a few that we've done that too. And you know what? I guess we're out of Libya, which is a good thing. I mean, how many wars can we get into? Seriously, how many wars can you get into? People wanted, I think McCain, of course, he thinks we should have a war. But I mean, Libya, then Syria, you've got this. We've had Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Russia. How many can we get into? And the thing of it is I think we spent our capital so much on the Iraq war and Afghanistan war that we don't have any left. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have any left. You can't go into those other peoples. There's no credibility. Our
Americans
military,
are war weary right now.
Yeah, our military was stretched so thin, continues to be, and then when you need it, it's like, well, we don't have it.
And that's another thing that our president is doing. I mean, things are getting worse around the world, so we're reducing the size of our military. Our military
is bigger than
any
country's military.
I don't
but
care.
We
It doesn't
have,
make any difference. Things are getting
worse. It
worse.
wasn't big enough where we had to pull in the National Guard.
So we're reducing the size of our military. That doesn't make sense to me. We have Randy Stapilus next here on Top Story. 736-0300, always the number to call here this morning on Top Story.
And first, I have to tell you about the UPS store.
Then we'll have Randy Stapilus with the Idaho Political Update.
That's right, in case you were wondering. But if you want to know how you can rent a mailbox, go to the UPS store. They're located on the corner of Blue Lakes and Addison. Go in and you tell them, hey, I want to rent a mailbox because I have a home business and I don't want people stopping by. Or maybe I'm moving. Or maybe I'm worried about the security of my mail. And they'll say, okay. And then you have to tell them Joe or Kelly sent you to receive the 1, 2, or 3 additional months free. But you must tell them that Joe or Kelly sent you. While you're there, you can pack, you can ship, you can print, you can copy. No drop-off fees for prepaid packages or mail. Corner of Blue Lakes and Addison, and you can buy cute little animal cards for your friends and family.
Yes.
Yeah, go in and tell Charles and the crew that we said hi.
We have Randy Stapilus with us this morning with the Idaho Political Update. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
Well, this is the week. Actually, tomorrow will be the day when the judge is supposed to rule on if there will be or will not be an injunction against a meeting with the Idaho GOP coming up this Saturday. Okay, what are the ramifications if he does, and what are the ramifications if he doesn't issue an injunction?
Okay, first of all, I think you should probably bear in mind that that would be really unusual for a judge to want to get involved in something like that to begin with. Usually, they hate to become involved in anything that's flat out about the governance of a political party or something like that. They almost always prefer to just kick that back to the party and have them settle it internally. But if he did issue an injunction along those lines, I think the National Republican Party probably would not react very well, because they have specifically maintained, their legal counsel and their structure have specifically maintained that is the proper venue for action on Idaho party governance. And they're not likely to look very, very kindly on any further delays on that. And it kind of keeps the battle going for longer than it otherwise would. If he refuses to do an injunction, it will probably mean that the meeting goes ahead and goes forward. They probably will make their selections as far as who the new party chairman will be, and possibly a few other things. And the National Party most likely would recognize that as falling in line. But the sort of the Barry Peterson wing of the party would not likely be very happy about it, and we would certainly not see the end of the internal conflict.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering, if this would put a. Do you think, rather than continue the conflict, that it looks like if the judge does not issue the injunction, that would really be a blow to the Barry Peterson side of the group here? Do you really think that they would continue trying to win over the party, or do you think it would be more of a let's just go and start our own party, even though many of the people in that group feel they are the old original traditional Republican Party?
Yeah, I think there'd be some temptation to want to set up their own organization, but I think a lot of them probably on two grounds. One, recognizing that third parties very rarely accomplish a great deal, and in a case like Idaho, they could wind up being a spoiler in a number of cases if they actually formed into a third party and got a significant number of people voting for them. You might wind up electing a number of additional Democrats that way. The other thing is that you're right. A lot of these people simply feel that they are the proper and real leadership of the Idaho Republican Party. That they are what they are about matches up with what the Idaho Republican Party is and is supposed to be about, and they're in no way giving up on that. And that's the more likely scenario, I would think, is that essentially the fight continues. I don't think that the fight is likely to go away in any event. In the I think probably less than likely event that the Barry Peterson wing prevails in this immediate fight, you will not see the other side going away either, as evidenced by the reports out this last week about a new kind of moderate Republican pack that's
right.
Right, and so. Did we lose Randy? Randy, you still there?
Yeah,
he's there.
Okay. Oh, I'm here.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I'm wondering. I mean, I think if they think that it's the Barry Peterson group are the real Republicans, to me, I think they're really the constitutionalists and libertarians trying to take over the party from within. And I don't think that's the real Republicans, to be honest with you. I mean, I think some of their ideas are really right wing that you haven't heard before, like the gold standard Bible study, repealing the 17th Amendment. I mean, if that just came about, how can that be the real Republicans? We would have heard it way before, this. I mean, just in the last few years. That doesn't.
Well, if you look at Idaho Republicans in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, it was certainly a lot more like the not Barry Peterson wing,
yeah.
Sort of the Butch Otter wing, more or less, of the Republican Party, a lot closer to that.
Yeah.
I think that would certainly be pretty safe to say. So it really does kind of ask the question of where did it all come from? A lot of these people do consider themselves Republicans now, at least. But there are a number of individual cases of candidates and some others who do have, libertarian or constitutionalist party background. So there is some of that too. But I think the other part of it is to look at how many of these people are, maybe relatively recent immigrants into Idaho. Are these people who have come from other states and maybe have had a variety of political experiences there, but they're coming to Idaho, and here they're determined that they're going to be Republicans.
I don't know.
You mentioned briefly the new PAC that is formed. I'm just going to read the first couple of sentences of the story. 20 mostly retired GOP legislators have joined top business leaders to establish a political action committee supporting what they call the middle ground in Idaho politics. Common Sense PAC, founded in April, spent about $17,000 in the May primary. Of 22 endorsed candidates, 16 of them won. How do you think this is going to affect the face of GOP politics in the state?
I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about it. There's been some discussion. The article, which is quite interesting, mentioned that a fair amount of the money was raised by way of Keith Allred, who was the Democratic nominee for governor last time around.
Yeah, which even puts another level of interest on this deal.
It does. Now, Allred has repeatedly said over the years, and even while he was running, that he didn't really consider himself to be a Democrat, that he considered himself more of an independent. But if you're looking at a group that is sort of fighting for the definition of the Republican Party, that's still might give some people a little bit of pause. I might note that one of the business people involved in that group, Skip Oppenheimer in Boise, has been traditionally involved with a lot of Democratic campaigns and supporting a lot of Democrats. So it makes for a situation that that may be a little bit uncomfortable for some of the Republicans who were involved if they're looking for trying to define the question of who is more purely a true Republican. It raises a few. It puts a few target marks on them as they proceed on this.
Or is it, we're raising money and we're targeting candidates, and clearly, money is money and they want it. It's not like they're targeting Democrats. It seems like they're targeting Republican candidates, aren't they? So to me, PAC is basically to raise money. And if they can raise money, who knows? Alred might be raising from people who supported him. Who knows? The whole bottom line is raising money, isn't it?
It is. Now, the amount of money that's been raised so far is in truth not all that massive. Right. And if you look at the number of candidates who have gotten it, it averages out to well under $1,000 per candidate, which is not all that enormous. And you while the track record for the win-loss track record that they have is pretty good, but you also have to ask the question: how many would have won anyway?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And how many were kind of on track to win, regardless. So it's a very interesting movement, though, in that the people who are as I think of them, kind of the Republicans, the way they were a generation ago, are starting to get increasingly organized and fighting back against sort of the Barry Peterson wing.
Yeah. That's kind of what I see too. But I also see the fact that, and I don't know that anyone can argue this, is that 20, 30, 40 years ago, Democrats were not as left wing as they appear to be today. And that's what scares a lot of the Idahoans. You think that's a fair statement?
I think there's been more definition of Democrats as being more left wing. I'm not sure in what ways. There are maybe two or three issues. You can look probably at gay marriage and one or two other things, but for the most part, I'm not sure that they've changed nearly as much as the Republicans have.
Yeah, interesting thought.
Well, also, and states are, it's not so left-wing when so many states are now legalizing gay marriage. So you have to wonder, were we left-wing or we just had some foresight? What was going to happen? There you go.
Well, to what extent is the country changing?
Yeah, it's changing, right. And how many states now legalize, gay marriage? So...
Well, but that is a more liberal thinking than it was 40 years ago.
But the country's changing more towards that.
Yeah, there's definitely been a change in that. There's been a change in marijuana legalization. Right. The polling has shown changes in that. There are a string of some of these sort of social issues where there clearly has been a change, at least in the polling, over the last number of years, and that's been kind of a general nationwide transition.
So it's not like the country's so upset. I mean, they're moving along in the same direction. So you have to wonder who's in touch with the populace.
Well, I wanted to hit one more thing before we run out of time. But during Treasurer Ron Crane's tenure, the interest earnings have exceeded $1 billion for the state. So does this help to nullify the accusations that have been thrown against them lately for apparently losing money in some investments for the state?
I think he gives them a pretty good talking point. It's a fairly, quick, simple way of saying that hey, I've made a whole lot of money here in the amount of time that I've been here, and obviously any of that money that the treasurer makes is money that people don't have to pay in taxes. So there's some real plus there. Of course, it looks a little bit less impressive when you start dividing it among the amount of time that we're talking about and the overall amount of money that's involved. Right. We are talking about earnings over the course of 16 years.
Yeah.
So you divide up the $1 billion by 16 to start with, and then you bear in mind that what he's been investing has been both state funds and a lot of other local government funds and other things. And that's been a lot of money. That's been many, many billions of dollars that he's been investing. So it looks to me, as I look at earnings that other states do, as though it's been pretty good earnings. It's been fairly solid. It doesn't necessarily look spectacular, but it certainly does sound good.
But what do you think about his position that, I'm just being audited as politically motivated? There's some political agenda here when they are supposed to be audited. They have found these things, and he hasn't really addressed the findings that the auditors have found. He just is saying it's a political move, and I'm sorry, but that just doesn't justify the stuff he's done.
Well, it's hard to understand how it could have been a political move either, because this is a group that has come out of the legislature. So it's a state legislative review function. It is really hard to see how it could have been a political move, because it's not. It certainly wasn't something that was orchestrated by Democrats. I don't see how it was even orchestrated by any particular wing of the Republican Party.
I know. How many Democrats do we have in the state, for goodness sakes? They all coalesced together and said, audit the treasurer. Come on. Come on, the five that are up there. Occasionally someone who's audited by the legislative auditors will make some kind of a charge that there was political motivation behind it, but that never really sticks. And
Randy, we're out of time.
Sorry, Randy.
We'll see you next week. How's that?
Okay, we'll talk to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Randy Stapilus from Reidenbaugh Press at reidenbaugh.com. Go there now. And welcome back to Top Story, 736-0300. As always, the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly. Same to you.
I don't know if anybody else thought this, but I thought last evening was really, really hot.
Oh, yesterday was hot. I think it hit 100.
Yeah. Did it?
Well, when I was out, I went to Ridley's yesterday, and you know that the temperature gauge above asphalt always makes it higher,
Right,
but I've never
right.
seen it at 105.
Wow.
That was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. I went outside and tried to sit outside, even in the shade, and it was just too warm. I had to go back into the air-conditioned inside.
It was really hot. So I think it was probably 100. I think even Jack said today it got up to 100 yesterday.
Wow.
So anyway, it was hot yesterday, really hot.
And this morning, you can just feel like it's probably going to get hotter this afternoon. It's only 72 right now, which isn't bad, but
I don't know. It's cloudy, so I don't know if it's going to rain, but still be warm.
Usually the clouds make it seem a little warmer because they kind of blanket the heat in.
Oh, yeah?
But on the other hand, it shades us from the sun. So who knows?
I don't know.
It is going to be what it is. And that's all I know. Coming up at 9:20, we'll have Chris Anderson from the CSI Herrett Center and Planetarium talking about the star party they had over the weekend and some upcoming events at CSI. Now, for right now, I read a story this morning saying that a majority of Florida voters support legalization of recreational marijuana, according to a new poll.
That one's hard to believe, knowing the demographic in Florida. It's got to be someone else. Because, you think about it, it's just like, my dad's down there. He's 88. And when I get down, everyone's pretty much old. And you think, really? You guys are into recreational marijuana? It's got to be another demographic. So
well, I don't know. Maybe it is. But, okay, Colorado just recently okayed it.
I know.
What, Washington?
Oregon.
Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
It's recreational.
Mm-hmm.
It's well, and then
And California has medicinal use.
Right. You see what's happening here. It's little by little. I predict that in 10 to 20 years, recreational marijuana will be approved in most states, if not all.
By which year?
I would say within the next 10 to 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Even in Idaho. I'll just bet, because it's the generation that is coming up that is more liberal to the thoughts of legalizing recreational marijuana.
Well, when you think about the libertarians in this, world, they too. Why should the government tell us? And a lot of times alcohol is more detrimental. What's the difference between alcohol and pot? I don't know. I've never done pot, but when you think about it,
with alcohol, we can make money on.
There you go.
That's the difference.
But
right there.
you can tax this. You can make money on this too. The problem in Colorado is they can't actually put the money in the bank because of the federal laws about promoting it. So a lot of these people are having trouble with that. But you can tax this. Why not make money on it? Yeah. But
is that really something we want? We had the caller that called a while ago from Seattle saying, you know what? It's like everybody's stoned.
But then you think How many people
cops.
drink?
Understood. We talk to cops, and they say that is a gateway drug. But then again, you talk to them, and they kind of have to admit that alcohol is too. But with alcohol, we put a stamp on it, we can make money on it. So I'm just asking the question, should we just say okay recreational marijuana everywhere? It's going to happen. I predict it's going to happen eventually. Everywhere. 736-0300 is the number to call. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning. What do you think?
Good morning. I think within 20 years we'll see the problems that legalization brings about in Colorado and Washington, and less states will be prone to making it legal. Right now, Colorado is having a homelessness problem because people are going to the state to smoke pot and to get involved in the quote-unquote marijuana industry. I think that Amsterdam backed off of its casual recreational drug policies because of the problems it was having.
Yeah, I understood that they were people in Amsterdam were in the parks and everybody was high and it was just a mess.
Well, they also had heroin.
Yeah.
They also legalized heroin
that's
there,
right,
and
they
so
did.
they had a lot of people in the parks on heroin. But also I heard that there was some statistic, and I know it's early to know, that crime has gone down a little bit with it. But then you think, if you're legalizing this, how many people are in the prisons for this? And I'm sorry, you should let those people out then. I'm sorry, you should. If it's now legal and you're in jail because of it, how does that make sense?
But it's like Grant Loeb said. He says, really, there's nobody in prison who was convicted of minor amounts of smoking marijuana. It's the big.
I'm sure
it's
there's
the smugglers,
I'm sure there's
the drug
some people
dealers, and such.
who are.
That it may not be as many as we would think. We're kind of led to believe that 80% of the prison population are for people who got caught smoking,
But there
are
some that have been picked up, and so you have to wonder now.
If it was maybe an addition to their other record, that might have been a tipping point. But anyway, what should we do? Should we legalize? I think the caller's right. I think we have yet to find out the downside of this, and I think Colorado is probably starting to now. I see homelessness in Denver is starting to rise, but the bad benefits may not come for a while. They are experiencing some of the good benefits right now in Colorado.
And do you think maybe the allure, it's got to wear off? Do you know what I mean? Like, okay,
I don't know.
It's got to wear off.
Look at alcohol. Shoot, alcoholism is, probably hard today, and it never has been. 736-0300. Top story, you're on the air. What do you think?
I think that you have to decriminalize pretty much all drugs. I think that, you quoted a correct statistic. We lock up more people than any other industrialized country, and most of it is because people are addicted and they have mental issues because of that. Prices of narcotics are just through the roof, and the reason they're so expensive is because of antiquated prohibition laws. You've been saying it for the past 5 minutes. We tried outlawing alcohol in the 1920s, and all we did was make people like Al Capone rich. Well, right now, the problem that you've been talking about with illegal aliens and, how we have to be compassionate for all these people in Honduras and El Salvador and all this other stuff, the reason they're coming up here is because of the narco war, the cartels down there, because of all the money that's involved with selling drugs in the United States. All that goes away. I mean, 40,000 people have been killed in Mexico in the last 10 years because of our drug policy, our failed drug policy. I'd be all for a war on drugs if you saw major declines in drug use. But, at the end of the day, God gave us free will, whether we like it or not. And for us to impose our will upon our neighbors because we don't, particularly care for their decision. I mean, trust me, Kelly, there's things that Jill doesn't like about you, and I know Kelly, there's things that you don't like about Jill.
What?
Yeah, exactly. But you can't just sit here and impose your will on the populace. And my generation knows this. We're
that's just it.
We're going to change the laws. I mean, in 20 years when we're running everything, this isn't going to be a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I think the laws 20 years from now are going to be a lot different than they are today, and I think that legal marijuana is going to be one of them. And we're going to look back and say, gosh, remember about how you used to could go to jail for sitting in the park like we are and, smoking a joint?
No, and I think the current Republican Party or whatever party it is that's hanging on against a lot of these things are still the old white males that are still trying to cling and legislate morality. You see it with gay marriage, you see it with birth control now, you see it with so many things. And I think the caller's right. When this generation is more powerful and take over the political process, this is not going to be an issue.
If we ever legalize marijuana, we darn well better legalize hemp. Okay, because there are a lot of benefits to hemp that we can't take advantage of now because they made it illegal back in the 30s or whenever it was when they saw, or maybe I guess earlier than that, when they saw that it was going to be a competitor against oil. So 7360300, top story, you're on the air. What do you think?
Well, I think that legalize it or not is fine. I mean, I'm not I wouldn't know if someone was smoking a joint if they walked up beside me. I have no idea what marijuana even smells like. But
well, if you smelled it, you would know it. It's very, very, very sweet.
You can smell
whether they legalize it or not, I think we have to get to a point first where we're willing to walk over that guy in the gutter who's an addict. My concern is that they're going to put all the treatment on the taxpayers for all these people who are going out and buying all the drugs.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, what about alcohol? Yeah. I mean, I
don't think we should be responsible for that either, Jill. If these people are going to go and get addicted to this stuff, then fine. That's their choice. They need to go in that with open eyes. If we're going to legalize all these things, fine, legalize them. Let them make an industry out of it or whatever.
But let them pay their own consequences.
But don't put it on the taxpayers to then offer treatment to these people when they become addicted to it.
Yeah. I don't know that marijuana is marijuana. Believe me, I have never smoked marijuana. And I don't know that it is addictive or not, like cigarettes or liquor. I just don't know.
I don't know. Some people, they say.
But I get his point. I think he's also talking about even other drugs. First marijuana, then what? Then we're going to legalize a little bit of cocaine is okay. A little bit of heroin is okay. Well, meth is okay if you don't use over this much and you don't sell it or stuff like,
But we already have drug court and things like that the taxpayers do pay for it. And the causes that happen and you jail them, we're paying for it. Alcohol, DUIs, we pay for it. There's so many things that we pay for by drugs and alcohol.
7360300, top story, you're on the air. What do you think?
When you tax the drugs, all that money has to go to treatment. It absolutely cannot go to anything else. That's the only way you legalize drugs, and then you use all of the tax money that you create. The state of Idaho only has like 2 public beds right now for drug treatment. So give treatment to the people that want it and the people that are addicted that are going to be addicted. But Jill, you said something that I had to call and refute because right after I hung up last time, you said that it was the Republican Party. Now I'm looking at the Democratic Party's platform right now, and it says dry up demand via more enforcement. So it's
dry up what?
Dry up drug demand via more enforcement. So the Democratic Party is controlled by a bunch of old rich white guys too, and they are just as much against bringing a lot of this stuff as Republicans. The problem with both parties is both of them claim to protect your freedom and protect your choices as long as they're the choices and freedoms that they agree with. Anything that either party doesn't agree with, they tend to legislate out.
Well, I think there's more social restrictions on the Republican side when you talk about gay marriage. And it's true, gay marriage, they're trying to legislate birth control. They're trying to do so many things. They can't even add the words. I mean, look what the state's doing. They try to get a transvaginal ultrasound requirement in the state. So you don't see that coming from the Democrats. But
well, I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about stars and planets and stuff next here with Chris Anderson from the CSI Herrett Center and Planetarium as we continue on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We got Chris Anderson coming up next, but first, Friday's $100 instant winning name is Ben Stroud.
Ben Stroud, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is life.
Life.
L-I-F-E.
Life.
The game of life.
Life. Or the cereal, Life.
Yeah, that too. You can go to our website at newsradio1310.com or the game of life. Did I say the game of life?
Yeah, you've already said that.
I already
Are
said
you
the
okay?
game of life.
Okay, or maybe the word life.
The three things to
You
go
okay?
in old age are your memory, your appetite, and memory.
And you can't.
So anyway.
And let me guess. Oops. We'll do a Rick Perry moment. Oops.
Go to our website at
Can't remember the third
newsradio1310.com. Click on on Word of the Day.
Are you
Put
okay?
in life. I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, so anyway, there you go. You can win $100, so just do it, you know?
Yeah.
And, of course, Chris Anderson with the CSI Herrett Center and Planetarium as our guest this morning. We always have a lot of fun when Chris is here because he is so knowledgeable.
I know.
Of,
It makes everything interesting.
That's right. And
Wish I would have had you as a teacher.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
I get that a lot.
You do? Oh, I just hate hearing that. If I had a dime for every time someone said that to me. Yeah, bore. Uh-huh.
Well, and I think part of that is because, when I'm talking to them, there's never a test at the end. So.
Oh, you're one of those teachers.
Well,
all right.
When I'm teaching, it's a whole different story. You see, that's the thing.
Well, so how did the Star Party go up on Pomerel?
It actually went really well. We could have had a little bit clearer skies. So there were some thin clouds we kind of had to dodge, but it wasn't what astronomers call chasing sucker holes, which is, when you have these little gaps between the clouds and you kind of, there's a target there, quick, get on it. And then just by the time your telescope is pointed there, the gap has moved somewhere else. But no, this was pretty good. I think it only had a few targets that we kind of had to come back to later in the night because there was a cloud temporarily blocking them. But for the most part, we had lots of great views, and lots of folks came up too. It was a pretty good crowd.
How was the rocket launcher thing?
It went great. No cows were injured.
Okay, good.
The cows actually didn't come up to the lodge, but
they probably the rumor spread.
But no, I'll tell you what. We had one kid that made a rocket. I think it's one of the highest ones I've ever seen. It went almost perfectly straight up, and it just kept going. Honestly, I think it took 4 seconds to get to its apex.
Really?
Which, you do a back of the envelope calculation, and that's like, several hundred feet up easily.
What do you make it out of?
2-liter water bottles and tennis
And
ball.
Menthos.
No, all we do is put water in it and pump it up with air pressure and then let it go. Yeah.
Wow.
So was he able to pump his up harder than the others, or was it in the design?
Well, no, I think it was in the design because the way we design is we actually have a template. So when the fins go on, they have a very slight cock to them so that the thing will twist as it goes.
Oh yeah,
and it really gets down to whether the kids get those fins on nice and straight and whether they're on really solidly.
Like rifling in a barrel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So did they win anything?
We thought about that. It would be really hard to have.
Prize?
It would be hard to have a prize for highest flight because how do you determine that? You'd almost have to have one of these, ways of triangulating or something. But actually, they've got the Frisbee golf course up there, and one of the holes is right down there close to the lodge. We said, hey, if anyone drops one in the hole there, we'll give them $100. I mean, that would have been quite the hole in one. And one kid came actually.
Did you have $100 to give?
Relatively close. Well, we kind of came up with that.
Did you have to break it to CSI?
Well, we kind of came up with that after the kid almost hit the hole, and like, hey, that'd be a really good thing is give a prize for the kid that hits the hole over there.
Dear President Fox, do we have $100?
We were so excited. We just spontaneously said this. So what else happened? You said you had a great moment.
Oh yeah, at the very start of the Star Party, I had checked in advance, and there's a website called heavensabove.com. It's heavens-above.com, and you can put in your location on the Earth, and it will tell you for the next week or so when you're going to be able to see bright satellites in the sky from where you are. And one of the types of satellites that you can see are what are called iridium satellites. And what makes these unique is the fact that they have these large antenna panels on them. They're about the size of a human, but they're also extremely reflective. They're almost like perfect mirrors. And so people have done the calculations when these things are rotating a certain angle that they'll catch a glint of sunlight and send it down to a fairly small spot on the Earth, just a couple miles wide. And if you happen to be in that spot, you get this insanely bright appearance in the sky of this satellite for a few seconds. So I'd checked in advance, and it turned out we had one of the brightest of the bright ones that was going to occur early in the evening on Saturday night from Pomerel and near a fairly bright star. So it was really easy to tell people exactly where to look. So we did this as folks were coming up on the lift, and we were all pretty much gathered there. I said, okay, folks, now that's vague up there. I was pointing it out to them. And I said, just look at that. Keep looking at that star for the next few minutes because I knew it was going to be at 9:34 when it happened. And sure enough, along comes the satellite. It starts getting brighter and brighter. You can hear people getting excited. And I said, oh, wait for it. You haven't seen anything yet. And we're talking tens of times brighter than Venus. If you've seen the really bright object in the early morning sky, that's Venus. And this was way brighter than Venus. Way brighter.
So probably someone would cast a shadow.
I hadn't even thought about turning around. I'm sure if we'd have turned around and looked at the ground, we would have been able to see our shadows.
Wow.
But yeah, and then afterwards, everyone just broke into spontaneous applause. It was a really nice star
And then they thought you were like the amazing Kreskin for predicting it.
I had a lot of folks asking, how did you know that? Heavensabove.com. That's all you got to do is go check. We were just really lucky to be in there.
If you got it, you got it.
Exactly.
I know.
We'll be right back.
Told him.
We'll be right back with Chris Anderson from the CSI Herrett Center and Planetarium right after this. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Back with Chris Anderson. We'll be talking more about the stars and stuff in just a moment. But first, just wanted to let you know that Pat Hartzell is a guy you want to get a hold of if you have a big feedlot or dairy operation and maybe you have an issue with manure. Okay, it's just a fact of life. If you got a lot of animals,
what goes in must come out.
That's right, and you got a lot of animals in a small place. Manure is going to be an issue.
It happens.
Well, Stanley and Company has a way to fix that with the Lowen Honey Loader. You can pick it up and you can move it away out to the fields and places where it does a lot more good. And if you want to see one of these in operation, then Pat is the guy you want to talk to at 280-1167. Now, you should really write that number down because maybe you think today that you don't have a problem, but that might change in the near future. And you might just think, that deal that Kelly talks about on the radio, maybe I ought to look into that. And you'll think, gee, who was that guy and what was his number? Pat. Well, he's with Stanley and Company, Pat Hartzell, 280-1167. It's that simple. All right, so you have, and there was this new study out. Now, we're always talking about new studies. Now, you have a new study. What was that study?
It was fascinating to me. It showed that someone went back and looked at when UFOs tended to be reported. And one of the things they found was that nights of the week where people are more likely to be frequenting bars, specifically Fridays and Saturday nights, were the most common times for people to be seeing UFOs.
Or could it be more people are out and about as opposed to being home? Maybe they're just out driving around because they're going to the bar.
Well, and the study did actually point out that, yes, indeed, correlation does not imply causation. Okay. However,
this is where Chris comes in.
Occam's razor says the simplest explanation is the one that's most likely true, and therefore I'm inclined to think that, someone saw something in the sky they can't explain. Is this because aliens traversed the trillions of miles of space to get here, or because someone was, let's say, not at their sharpest observational skills at the time?
It was the Bud Light. That's what it was. It was the Bud Light.
The frogs.
Yeah.
But then did you say it was also the states? What did you say about the states?
Yeah, they did it state by state and saw that the states that had higher incidence of alcoholism also tended to be the ones that were more likely to have people reporting UFOs.
And which states were those? Less populated, like Kansas, a farmer sitting there?
It was actually, it was a lot
What
of
else do you have to do but drink, There's nothing else going on? Then you happen to see a UFO. There you go.
But in the more populated areas, the lights are brighter and you can't see the stars as easily.
They have no place to land. I mean, where are you going to land in Manhattan?
Exactly.
Come on.
Central
Got
Park.
to go to Kansas.
So what's coming up at CSI?
Lots of stuff. In fact, not this coming weekend, but the following. Saturday, the 9th of August. We have both Creepy Crawly Day going on during the day. If you're familiar with this,
I'm not.
Yeah, this is where we get a lot of the reptiles, not just the ones in our collection, but other folks in the area who own reptiles as well. And we get them all together and let folks see a lot of these exotic pets up close and personal. And it's really kind of a whole day of folks who just, if you're really into reptiles, this is a great day. But some folks bring other things that aren't necessarily reptiles too. I know folks have brought things like scorpions and.
Then do the reptiles eat the scorpions?
Okay, so
we have like a battle of
We keep them separate.
Do they do that because they're interested in that stuff, or do they do that because they call it their pet? I find it difficult to cuddle up in my easy chair watching TV with a scorpion.
I think it's really a whole spectrum. Yeah, I mean there are people who kind of like it for the exotic factor. But there are people who really, talk about how much they like their iguana and they treat them like a pet and all that. Yeah, I mean Personally, I wouldn't want to clean up after them because they cannot be potty trained as far as I know. So yeah,
you need a honey Lowen.
And if you try, don't go to sleep at night. Interesting stuff.
Sleep with one eye open with
But if reptiles are not your thing, that same night is our monthly free star party. It is the second Saturday of August, and so we will have the observatory open that night from 9:15 to midnight, weather permitting. So and this will probably be one of your last chances to see Saturn in the evening for this year because it is working its way over toward the west now and will be disappearing into evening twilight here pretty soon.
Can you see? I know there for a while you couldn't see the rings around Saturn.
Oh, yeah. No, they're almost all the way open now.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's how long we've been doing this show because it takes 7.5 years for them to completely go from edge on to open. So, they're getting pretty close now to wide open. And that means you can see the so-called Cassini division, this little black gap near the outer edge of the rings. You can see the moons really well. And yeah, we were looking at it Saturday night at Palmerell as well, and that was a big hit.
What are the prospects of seeing the rings of Saturn with a small, what you would consider a department store type telescope?
Actually pretty good. I mean, really, you don't need spectacular optics. You need at least about 30 power or more, which is really almost any telescope you're going to buy for astronomical use is going to be able to do 30 power or greater. In fact, I generally tell people don't go buy one with lots and lots of magnification because there really aren't many targets for which that's going to look good. In fact, for the most part, most targets are going to look terrible at high magnification. So I tell people, stick around 50 power, 100 power maybe. Don't go much beyond that. You don't really need to. Most targets don't need that kind of magnification.
It's the light that's more important than the magnification.
Yep. You want to bring a lot of light in, and a lot of targets simply look better at low power. That's all there is to it.
We'll be right back with Chris Anderson here from the CSI Herrett Center and Planetarium. 736-0300, the number to call this morning on Top Story. Our final segment with Chris Anderson from the CSI Herrett Center and Planetarium. What else is going on at CSI?
I'm going to have to talk fast then. There's a lot going on in August.
Right.
Yeah, we've got...
We got you distracted with the aliens.
We'll shut up and leave you alone.
Another one of our primitive skills classes coming up. This is the Flint Napping 102. We had Flint Napping 101 earlier. This is going to be percussion flaking. Last time it was pressure flaking. This is actually striking the rocks to produce... And it's a little bit more advanced technique. But if people have a little bit of flint napping experience, or they feel like they might be able to, take on a little more big of a challenge, this is going to be on the 15th and 16th. That's a Friday and Saturday. It'll be the evening of the 15th, 6 to 8, and it'll be all day on Saturday from 9 to 4, the 16th. And it's $50.
Do you have to take the 101 before you take the 102?
They don't say strictly that's the case. It helps if you do.
Yeah.
But you don't have to.
Is there a certain age?
That's a really good question. I think for younger kids, probably not.
What do you consider younger?
Gosh, you're asking the wrong person here.
No, people are probably listening.
Probably the parents would be able to make that determination.
Well, right, and you're going to want to sign up in advance because the last class filled up. So yeah, folks will call, get some information.
A lot
of
flint
nappers
out there.
Like 10 would be a good.
Under
10, is that too young?
I'm thinking more like teenagers and above. Yeah,
okay,
younger kids are probably just not going to have the motor skills to do it.
Well, the parents can make that decision, and we're burning time here, and he doesn't have very much time left.
Well, people who have an older kid, okay, fine, but if you got a younger one, no.
They'll be able to determine
How would you know?
Call the Herrett Center, 732-6655.
Okay, what else you got?
Then the following weekend is our City of Rocks Star Party that we do every year. And, as nice as Palmerell is, it's even darker at City of Rocks because the mountains kind of screen the light of the valley. And it is really dark out there. And just so people know, we call it the City of Rocks Star Party because people are familiar with where the City of Rocks are for the most part. But we're actually at the Castle Rock State Park that's adjacent to and just north of City of Rocks. And that'll be on the 22nd and 23rd. We'll be doing solar viewing during the day at the Smoky Mountain Campground from 2 to 6. And then telescopes set up both nights, 22nd and 23rd from 9 to midnight, weather permitting. And it's all free. The only thing that applies is, the park day use fees, but the actual telescope viewing is free. And then, real quick, two things that are going to be expiring in August. We've got two art exhibits. One is Keith Farnsworth's exhibit in our main gallery right now called Daydreams. And Keith is a local artist. He does some they're really extremely well executed, very whimsical at times, sometimes a little dark, but always seemingly with a little bit of humor, sometimes dark humor. But that'll be here through the 23rd. And then we also have in one of our side galleries, it's not really a full-blown gallery, it's kind of the hallway there, local artist Gary Stone. You're familiar with him if you've seen his work down at the airport.
Everybody knows Gary Stone.
Yeah, and he's got a number of pieces up that tell the story of Jimmy Iverson, who was a child who was abducted by Indians back in the 1800s, and then somehow managed the Indians gave him back to the
He
white
was
culture.
such a trouble.
Well,
we don't want him. Take him back.
You have him.
and so he eventually was reunited with his family. But Gary sort of imagined, well, what might his life have been as a child with the Indians, and so all the paintings are done sort of depicting scenes from his life, as speculating what scenes of his life would have been like with the Indians, and that'll be here through the end of August as well. So, and then finally, brand new Planetarium show is going to be opening on the 5th, called Dynamic Earth. And it's all about the interaction between the atmosphere and the oceans and how that drives our climate and what we're doing to the earth and all that. So it's narrated by Liam Neeson. So, it's...
Liam Neeson.
Yes, there's no time. So
she's taken again.
We're all going to die.
So yeah, that'll open on the 5th.
He'll shoot us.
Yep. So yeah, a lot going on in August. And
wow, that's exciting.
Folks can get information about all the observatory events by calling our information line 732-MOON. You can get
732 Moon.
Yep.
How'd you get that?
Oh, nobody else wanted the number because it had too many sixes in it.
Why? What's the real number? 732
6666. I kid you not. People are like,
kidding?
I don't want with all the sixes in it. It's like, it's
like
4 sixes. It's not 3 sixes.
I know. 7326666. I like that better than
I always
Moon.
want to ask people who are upset about the number 666. So if I wrote you a check for $666, you'd refuse to cash it, right? So, yeah.
Well, you mentioned a while ago about the solar viewing. I wonder if some people have this idea that solar viewing is not as exciting as nighttime viewing.
Oh, well,
nothing could be further from the truth.
Certainly we don't have as many targets during the day, but the sun itself, I mean, there's different sunspots literally every day, and there are these eruptions that come off the edges of the sun, which are really cool to see.
2 years ago that I guess almost killed us all.
Oh, yeah. That was, they just now realized how bad that could have been had it been a square-on hit. So, yeah, I mean, and you can see these much smaller, less dangerous ones all the time. But, yeah, I mean, especially now since the sun's near the peak of its activity, so for its 11-year cycle.
Because we were going to ask you
every Wednesday from 1:30 to 3:30.
We got a caller.
Yeah, we got a caller. Top story. You're on the air with Chris Anderson.
Good morning. You're talking about the artwork. There's a book called The White Indian Boy, and it is magnificent. It's about a youngster who was adopted sort of by a tribe of Indians. They offered him a pony. He went and lived with them for a long time, then came back to his family. But the book is The White Indian Boy, and I really can't remember his name, but he lived a long, long time. It's a great, great book, and it's similar to what you're talking about, that artwork.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know there is a book specifically about this particular boy, Jimmy Iverson, but it's not that
it's
title.
Not Jimmy.
Yeah, it's a book that contains that story and many others from those times. But yeah, whether or not that one is about Jimmy Iverson,
I wonder if the parents were like, "No, you keep him," and they tried to give him back.
Well, and actually, when they gave him back to a whole different family, and then only later did people kind of connect the dots and reunite him with his family.
Oh,
so,
wow,
yeah.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, we have a whole huge resource at CSI. We should use it more, and thank you for coming and telling us about it.
Thank you, and I'll see you in September.
That's right,
Yes.
and we'll be right back after the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563.
Well, if you would like to rent a mailbox, you know what you need to do? Go to the UPS store, corner of Blue Lakes and Addison. You walk in, you say, Charles, I need a mailbox. And more importantly, Jill and Kelly sent me, which means you'll receive 1, 2, or 3 additional months free, depending on the length of the lease that you choose. And you say, why do I need a mailbox, Jill? And I'll tell you why. Because if you have a home business and you don't have a retail location, you do not want people coming up to your door, honestly. Or if you're moving, if you're worried about the security of your mail, go to the UPS store, rent a mailbox, tell them Joe or Kelly sent you, receive 1, 2, or 3 additional months free. While you're there, you can print, you can ship, you can package, you can laminate, you can copy. No drop-off fees for prepaid packages or mail, and you can buy a cute little animal card for your friends and family. Corner of Blue Lakes and Addison. Tell Charles and the crew, Jill and Kelly sent you.
And this Friday, we're going to be pulling a name out of the hat, giving away another lunch for 2. For 4, actually, if you count you and me, a free lunch with Kelly and Jill at the Canyon Crest Dining and Event Center.
We had a lovely time on Friday with the Vensfeen boys. It was nice. And usually you pick the names. You've done that a few times, Chris.
That's true.
But now you can't.
So you won't be able to this.
I won't be, sorry.
I don't know what we're going to do now.
I don't know. We'll have to find someone else.
So,
but they will be picked,
yes,
believe me.
They will. And you still have a chance to sign up for the July lunch. Well, it'll be probably done in August. But to sign up for July, we do it a month at a time. Now, if you've signed up in previous months and you haven't won, you do have to sign up again. You have to sign up each month.
Each month.
So if after this Friday we don't pull your name out of the hat, then you can sign up again, and you'll have a chance for August.
And if you've won in the past, I think you just have to wait 30 days.
Yeah, wait 30 days. You can be eligible again.
So everyone's pretty much eligible. Except for Jim and Frank.
That's right. Well, Jim is actually eligible,
yeah,
but
Jim
Frank is not.
Right, no, Frank isn't, yeah.
But at any rate...
Chris, you're eligible. Why don't you have lunch with us? Why don't you enter? Why not?
Yeah. A free lunch, the Canyon Crest.
In the limo.
And a ride in the limo. You could leave your bicycle out here, and we could take the
You
limo.
could actually know what it's like to ride someplace in a car.
Or if you had to, you probably strap the bike to the back, and when we got down there, and then you could go.
Jill, you have no idea what kind of double takes I get when people see what I actually do drive.
Yeah,
I drive a big old FJ Cruiser, so when they see me in fact. Mike Mason at the college one year when they were giving out the hams that they give to the employees, I pulled up on the thing. He said, I didn't recognize you in this thing. I'm used to seeing you on the bike.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, try it. See how the other half lives.
That's right. In the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow here on Top Story. We'll have Steve Millington and what else?
That's pretty much it.
That's it.
Unless we work on something today.
Well, it should be an
Gotta find
interesting
something
day.
today.
So we'll see you then. Have a great day. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal. Bye, Chris.
Bye.